Anne B asks, what's good and evil? This is a little bit of a strange question because people already know the answer. So the real question is it's related to some sort of details about it. Because people already know, making things better is good. But the word better is a variant of good. But people know what that means, like better and worse. Destruction and murder are evil. And building a building or inventing a new medicine, those things are good. Things that make people's lives better and happier are good. Things that kill and destroy are bad. Production's good. Cruelty's bad. But there's other questions very similar, what's the principle behind this? What if you didn't already know if something was good or bad? How would you figure it out? What are the deep concepts here? What's a more principled philosophical way to approach the issue? So one of the issues is succeeding at goals is a largely good thing. It doesn't always have to be good because you could have a goal to murder someone, but there's something good about choosing a goal and then actually succeeding rather than failing. Being able to accomplish what you're aiming to accomplish at has at least some good in it. And this creates an asymmetry between the good guys and the bad guys in wars. The good guys usually win wars more often. It's not random. They don't just win 50-50. And terrorists are less effective than they could be. If I was going to be a terrorist, I could be better at it than most terrorists because I'm more skilled at doing what I intend to do. And there's a reason for this, which is if the bad guys were more skilled at accomplishing whatever it is they wanted to accomplish, at succeeding instead of failing, it's not a probability, but it's they'd be way less likely to be bad guys. In learning how to succeed at what they want, they would have a good possibility of learning better things to want. They would have more access to different lifestyles, which are more appealing and less violent. If they could just succeed at whatever goals they wanted, they could get rich programming. They could get famous doing acting. They'd have so much better choices than terrorism. They could figure out which political systems are true or false, good or bad. They could figure out if Sharia is a mistake or not, and they could do that successfully if they were better at succeeding at things. Because Sharia is not actually good for them. If they could just be successful people in a Western society, they'd be better off. Destroying stuff is generally easier, but the kind of people who want to destroy stuff don't actually know better ways to live. They're sort of stuck in some way. They're not good enough at producing and succeeding. Because if they were, they'd find those things more appealing. Destruction's not that appealing. What do you want to die for? Or kill everyone else and then, be Lord of the Ruins? Being Lord of the Ruins might sound appealing if you think your other options are being a slave, being a serf, being a minimum wage worker who you think is exploited and doesn't have good living conditions, and no one listens to you. But if you're a more effective person, more able to succeed rather than fail, that's what being effective is, more competent, then you would have better options than that. You'd be able to at least be, middle class and have a comfortable life and be respected by people you talk to because you say effective, persuasive, reasonable things. If you could do all that, that's way better than being potentially king over the ruins and much more likely dead, because a bunch of other people, if society falls apart, there's going to be competition to be the king of the ruins who lords it over the people who are still alive. Other people are going to want that. You'll have to kill a bunch of them. You might get killed. It's not a very good strategy. And, you're not even that great at accomplishing things. So you could very easily lose the fight. I mean, they're not the best at that either, but... So, Yeah, good and evil has a lot to do with being effective. Effectiveness is not always good because you can have effectiveness for a bad cause, but it's related to good. There's Effectiveness isn't neutral. There's a lot of ways to go wrong, to be in error, to mess up, to have things not work out. Being able to actually do what you intend to do is a big thing. That's a good step towards good. Another thing is you don't need like a moral foundation, like some principle, and then you derive what's good and evil from it. You already know that like stealing is bad, and you know why. It hurts people, it's destructive. Like stealing someone else's money, not only does it not create any actual new wealth, there isn't like more to go around. You're not making the pie bigger. You're actually making the pie smaller because you're putting effort into something that's not creating wealth. You're putting effort non-productively, and you're making the other people put effort into defending themselves and security. They have to build locks and safes and so on to deal with thieves. So there's actual effort from other people as well that's being redirected away from creating more wealth to go around. So you're causing a smaller pie if you're a thief. So there's less for everyone. Thieves are hoping to divide more of a smaller pie to themselves rather than help create a bigger pie. And that's not a very good strategy. Like, you can see things wrong with it. There's other stuff too that you can argue against it, like why do you have a right to someone else's property? And if you want an iPhone or whatever, why don't you just get your own? What do you have against the perfectly reasonable methods that already exist for you to get your own without stealing it? The main reason people would want to steal an iPhone and rather than earn their own is because like they're failing at life. They're not being successful. Like if they could actually access a successful life where they have a job they don't hate too much, that pays pretty well, that they're actually pretty good at. If they could do those kinds of things, that's better than being a thief. Anyway, the point is you can take existing ideas you already have about good and evil, and instead of trying to like replace them with, this is the definition of good, and then we'll argue everything from there from first principles. Don't do that. Just take what you already know, and then if you run into a problem with it, if something seems wrong, something is off, if something's not working, if you find self-contradictions in your ideas, then try to fix that. But don't fix it by throw everything out, start over from, a definition of good. Just fix things in the smallest way that will fix the problem. And just keep fixing things. So try to take your existing understanding of the issue, which you absolutely already have, and then try to work on it, try to improve it. You can, fix little details. Like you can hear the idea that being selfish actually isn't evil. And then you can start to consider that and learn about it. And consider why you would want to be self-sacrificing and whether that's a good idea. And what would happen if no one was self-sacrificing. You can think that through and see if you want to change your mind about anything. See if some of the condemnations of self-interest have any flaws in them. That's like a common place where people have some mistakes in their views that can learn something about that without just rethinking everything you know about good and evil. You can keep a lot of what you already know and rethink that part of it. Especially if you learn some economics and you learn like that capital accumulation helps increase the productivity of labor, and that like quote hoarding money isn't actually like harming and exploiting people. It's not doing economic harm to the poor people or something. If you learn things like that, it can help change your perspective a bit.